we go live to Florida, where as I'm looking at Aaron Berlin here on our show of Both Coast Bias, I see him in his bedroom, and things look sunny. Sunny.
It is a torrential downpour right now, Jonas. But good news is, did not lose power, did not get high winds, didn't really even get a hurricane, so we can pod today.
Much ado about nothing.
Absolutely.
At least that's what it seems like for today. Appreciate everyone listening. We're going back to back today. This is Jonas out here in Los Angeles. Aaron is, of course, in Florida, but specifically, he's in Orlando, Central Florida, where things seem to be fine. This is Both Coast Bias. Please follow us online so you can get all the hot updates and whatnot if Aaron ever has another hurricane and can't record on a Monday. So that would be on Instagram at Both Coast Bias and on Twitter, Both Coast Bias 1. So
what would you have done? What would you have done had I not been able to record today?
Today?
Yeah.
That's a good question. Would I have done it solo? Would I have pulled someone off the streets? That actually would have been really interesting, right? Maybe a man on the streets type of episode. Tell me about the upcoming NFL season. I don't know.
Well, I would have loved if you were just like, all right, I'm going to randomly start Skyping people into this show and just did like a round table of a mishmash of people, and I thought that would have been fantastic.
So here's the thing
I do have to ask you, do you feel a little exasperated, now that we've done back-to-back shows? Do you feel a little tired? Are you worried about the content that we have for today?
Aaron, let me put it this way. I'm built like a horse. I am meant to be striding through the radio world or the podcasting world, I guess, since we're online. You can ride this hide. You can take me all throughout the week, and I will not tire because, baby, I was born this way. That was a mix of...
Women out there. Jonas is ready to be ridden. He is ready to ride, and he is ready to pod.
I have thick haunches. I think I mixed my analogies there with Lady Gaga as well. But no, why would I be tired of this? I'm talking sports with my dude. And hurricanes.
It's so sweet. Talking hurricanes and sports, and no, not the hurricanes that you do at the gym.
Or the Carolina Hurricanes, because it's not NHL season yet. Or the Miami Hurricanes, because they're not that good.
I used to take a gym class, Jonas, that was called, it was called like the Ultimate Warrior Hurricane, because it was like a high cardio class. And by the end of it, you were just dead and you were sweating and you were exhausted. And I did that class once and I said I was never going to go back again. So any class that ever has the word hurricane in it, I refuse to do it.
You kind of got to know what you're getting yourself into, though, when they use terminology like that, right? Like the whole point of it is to be a whirlwind of hurt.
Training for warriors. I am not a warrior. I'm just a dude who sits at home and pods with this other dude. And right now I'm wearing sweatpants and a sweatshirt, and I couldn't be happier.
And you look comfy, and you don't look like someone who wants to be just twirling around weights and whatnot. You brought up if I just sat there and randomly called Skype people. The thing about my Skype and my address book in my Skype right now is, I guess, a little bit of back history. I used to work for the Women's Football League, formerly known as the Lingerie Football League, remember?
Ooh, can we bring anyone from the LFL on?
It's not real. Well, their championship is this weekend if you really need to interview someone.
I do.
So I worked for them, and part of my role there, worked for them and getting paid is a whole different issue, right?
You traveled with them, right? I
travel every single game. The way they do it is they set up one game per week. Some teams don't play for months on end because every game is a production, similar to your World of Wrestling, Aaron, where it's one game in Omaha, the rest of the league is sitting. Then the next weekend, maybe we would go to Austin. There's a game there, so on and so on. But I helped set up what we called the Commissioner's Corner because the man who is the president, the owner, the commissioner, the whole nine yards, also hosted a weekly online YouTube show where we would interview two players from the upcoming game. So a lot of my Skype, and similar to what we're doing today, we would screen record so we could put it on YouTube. We would have a lot of players. So a lot of players are in my Skype address book because no one else I really talked to on Skype other than really you and my lady back when she was living in a different state.
Is the Commissioner's Corner still ongoing?
Yeah, it's now a one-man operation. He used to have co-hosts, but now it's just him.
What are the average views for that show? Because I'm going to guess not very high if it's a one-man show.
Honestly, we can look it up real quickly. I'm going to YouTube as we speak.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's see about this guy's show. I'm interested now.
Listener's Corner.
Because what if I've learned anything, Jonas, and you and I have both been in the industry long enough, going on 10 years in radio and show hosting and things of that nature. But what I've learned, Jonas, is that people don't want to hear from me. If I'm solo on a show, people don't care for that. People don't want that stuff. They want information. They want to hear from people. They want interviews. They want a co-host. So, like, if this dude's just out there blibber blabbering about himself and about his league, I don't care about that, man.
So, the thing is, this it does have a little bit of cachet. And here, 1 year ago today, the views are actually pretty high. Look, I can't be a hater when
so this guy just debunked everything that I just said, huh? Maybe it's just my shows. Who knows?
Maybe it's just you. No, maybe you need more half-dressed, muscular ladies on your show. I'm looking here just an episode from a year ago, 6.6 thousand views, 10,000 views, 17,000 views, which we would take, certainly.
Not bad. Not bad. I would gladly take 6,500 listeners.
Now, I did make an appearance on some of these episodes, so I'm wondering if they've gone up by a lot ever since I left. Shall we take a look?
Or maybe they've dropped.
You know what?
This is the ultimate test right here. I was going to say, because I have not heard from the Legends Football League in a long time.
Well, that's the thing, right?
Up on my iPad right now.
You heard about it a lot more, right, when it was probably known as the Lingerie Football League, or when they had the Lingerie Bowl.
Why did they decide to change the name?
Going for more legitimacy. They want a legitimate football league. Where the football, I will admit, was decent. It was fine.
Was it Smash Mouth? Was it better than the XFL?
Well, we are your go-to show for all things XFL, so I don't know if I can badmouth the XFL. We are your headquarters. Better in what way? Entertaining or like quality football?
Well, quality of football and entertainment value. Because I would say the original XFL offered all of the entertainment value that you could possibly want.
So true. So let me say this quickly about the LFL game. It's a 50-yard field in arenas, not like Staples Center, but usually like community arenas, where they would have like a hockey rink in all likelihood, where they'd have boards around it. So you get a little bit of an arena football feel for the LFL on a smaller field. Only 7 people on the field at all times, so it's a different game. So, with that being said, the XFL was probably a better product in terms of quality football, because guys like Tommy Maddox and Rod Smart actually went to the NFL, right? So you had guys who were decent football players. But in the LFL, all they're wearing is a hockey helmet and like these shoulder pads. And again, I don't want people to think I'm like being perverted here. A lot of these ladies were like muscle builders and bodybuilders.
Oh yeah.
So they weren't like lingerie models or anything like that. They were hitting each other, and there were legitimate injuries.
So Jonas, I'm looking at the set of the LFL right now, and this is exactly what I remember. Before, it was kind of like a big desk. You guys would each sit on one side of each other, and then you had a microphone, right? And you guys would bring up the person that you interviewed in the background, right? It was
we were sitting in front of a green screen.
Yeah. What I never understood about the set, and maybe
you watched an episode.
I did watch an episode.
Oh, okay.
I always watch stuff that you're on. I was very interested in it and what you guys were doing.
Oh, thanks, man.
But one thing that I never really understood about the set was there were always like bottles of wine on there, which because it's not like you guys are doing the show and drinking the wine at the same time. No. It's just like the wine was there. Like why was the wine there?
That was from his collection, from his office. I don't know if he was trying to promote the brand.
I think he just wanted to show that he had like expensive bottles of wine,
and I think
which is just such like an odd placement at that point, right? Like
it is.
Here, I'm doing this show about a league that I own, about a show that I'm featured on, with bottles of wine that I own.
So within the same vein, one of the props was an old Washington Redskins helmet, right there on the desk. Which, if you think about it, you are a football league, in essence, competing against the NFL, right? They play during the summer, but your product is essentially a direct competitor to the NFL. But the whole point of having the Redskins helmet was to say, I'm a diehard Redskins fan. I want people to pay attention to the Redskins and know that I love them. as opposed to not having anything related to the NFL, which is probably the smarter move here. Like maybe put one of your own teams on the desk. It's not my league. They're still going, so who am I to say, right?
So on the desk now, it's funny you mentioned that the helmet has been removed. But on the episode that I am skimming through right now, and I'm keyword skimming, not watching, skimming. There is a Cubs baseball. So again, he's promoting Major League Baseball.
So again, he is a huge Cubs fan.
And then a Larry Bird kind of picture.
The Larry Bird has been there every episode. Again, for whatever reason,
it's kind of like Superman in Seinfeld. How there's always a Superman in every episode of Seinfeld. Everybody
that's a good call. No, it is the Superman of the Commissioner's Corner episode.
Can we start calling this the Commissioner's Corner? Because we are the commissions of both Coast Bias, right?
Look, I like to think of you as the Emperor of the East Coast, and I am the Squire of the West Coast. I don't know.
Maybe this is our new thing. We analyze the XFL and the Legends Football League, and one day we will bring them together for good smash mouth football.
Well, that's interesting you say that, because I believe the goal of the LFL was always to be sort of a WWE type of entity. One event per week, one guy sitting atop, right, who's got his hands involved with everything. And again, they are traveling around. They draw crowds. I wouldn't say they're boisterous some crowds are actually pretty good. Like Seattle, you know how they are for their like MLS. Like Seattle fans get weird for their sports.
That team.
So they actually show up for their LFL team. And I believe that's where the championship is this Saturday. Not that I'm saying go. And if you want to, go ahead. But it's someone sitting at the top of a league controlling every aspect of it. So I think that's the model.
What do you miss most about the LFL?
It's a great question.
Because you didn't love the travel. You traveled with them, but you didn't really love the travel.
The travel was okay. Like, say if we were going to Texas or Seattle, right? How could you complain about that? The one going to New England was rough. And the whole purpose of the travel was to get the cheapest flight possible there and back, which generally meant 5 a.m. flights from either place. So, like, you'll work a game day, which is a 12 to 14-hour day, and then you're flying back the very next day, probably on, like, 3 hours rest. So you get back and you're zonked.
Were you guys even getting hotels at that point? Because it was probably a day in, day out type thing.
It was like we were at a hotel for the day we flew in, and technically for the day of the game, but we were gone, pretty soon after. So yeah, we got hotels, but they were generally, airport hotels. Yeah,
airport hotels are not the best. I have some really bad travel stories. I think I've told you this one, Jonas. The worst travel story I ever had was when I worked in baseball. And we were playing in Indianapolis. It was a getaway game, and we were traveling by sleeper buses, right? And you know how on getaway days, they're typically 1 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon ball games. Mm-hmm. Well, the night before, that game had gotten suspended. So we were going to play the suspended game out and then finish up the last game, because it was the last time we went to Indianapolis that year. So in baseball, you have to get the game in, right?
Is the Indianapolis team still called the Indians?
They are still called the Indians.
Okay.
Yeah. I believe they're still the affiliate of the Pittsburgh Pirates. You might check me on that, though.
I'll double check real quick.
But anyway, so we were supposed to play the suspended game and then the regular game all in one day, and then we were probably supposed to be done by 5 or 6, right, by the time this is all said and done. Well, what happened is it rained all morning.
Of course.
So the suspended game got delayed, and it rained until like 8 o'clock. And because minor league baseball teams love to operate under the mindset that any gate is good gate, right? Like as long as you get the game in and the gates are open, then you're going to make as much money as you possibly can. It's a real guerrilla business
in the minor leagues.
Absolutely, and it's miserable. So we were heading back to Scranton that night. So you have Indianapolis to Scranton. That's about a 12-hour bus ride, Jonas.
Indianapolis game, to the East Coast, that'd be rough.
Yeah. The suspended game did not start until 9 p.m.
Oh.
We had 4 innings left of that game, 30 minutes in between, played a shortened 7-inning game after that. And by the time we wrapped up with our post-game show and got to the bus, it was 1 a.m. So another glorious thing about working in minor league baseball, Jonas, is that when you travel back,
That's nuts, man. That is
you're traveling by sleeper bus, right? Well, the next day you still have a baseball game.
Yeah, no, that's rough. And
so
you're right. The Indians are still an affiliate of the Pirates.
So we probably got to Scranton at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, played a game that night, and that was like one of the longest day-and-a-half sequences of my life. It was fun, and it was memorable, not miserable. But the day after that game that we got back, like the next day, I was exhausted.
I bet.
Was out of it, and it was something that I personally never want to experience again.
Oh, that sounds absolutely awful. I'm trying to think of with my time with the Rafters, which is also a team that, and this we're starting to divulge into old stories. We'll get on with it here pretty soon. Only thing I have anything close to that is when we had to go from Thunder Bay back to Wisconsin Rapids.
Ooh, but you stayed in Hojo, didn't you?
That was in
Madison?
Thunder Bay. No, we stayed at a college campus there, like a Thunder Bay University or something in Canada.
Wow.
Thunder Bay is in Canada, for those who don't know.
The year that I was there, we did not play in Thunder Bay, so I didn't get to make that trip.
Yeah.
We went to Alexandria, which was even worse.
Really?
Yes.
Maybe that's a different story for a different time. All right, so
we'll just have story time with Aaron and Jonas on their minor league travels.
I did not mean to provide that much free promotion for another league out there. But hey, that's the point of our show, right? We're talking about stuff that we know and that I was going to say that we love, but that we know. So, that being said, things that Aaron knows and that Aaron loves and that I basically just riff on and pretend like I'm intellectual and plugged into these things is Aaron's independent song of the day. Will it be something super independent and unknown like Bob Dylan yesterday?
Super independent and unknown, right? Like nobody had heard that song before yesterday, but I really hope they enjoyed it and I hope they appreciated it. Today's independent song of the day is, I have to admit, I did not do a lot of background research on this. I was kind of busy today. One, kind of putting my house back together after we had hunkered down for the hurricane and just kind of like moseying about and getting other things done that I hadn't done over the last few days.
Oh, is the weather causing you issues? Sorry, Aaron. We've got a podcast to record.
Wow. Just so savage all the time.
Yeah,
just always.
I'm a little feisty today.
You are a little feisty. So today's indie song of the day comes courtesy of the Walters, and it is called Hunk Beach.
Is that where you and I hang out?
We hang out at Hunk Beach.
Yeah, we do.
Let's see. Let's learn a little bit about this song, and let's dive in, because we are all doing this together all at once. And this one came courtesy of my Discover Weekly.
Mm-hmm.
This song came out in 2015, Jonas. And that is all that is to be said about that. You can get it on Amazon. You can find it on SoundCloud. You can find it on Spotify. But do you know what I really enjoyed about a week ago when we highlighted another young musician, one Nicholas Massey? Do you think he's made any new music lately?
That's a good question. He's been posting a little bit on his Instagram page because we now follow him and I get updates when he posts something new. So I hope so, because I enjoyed him both as a person and as a musician.
Absolutely. Nick, if you have any new music out there,
shoot it our way.
We'll promote it for you.
The funny thing about Discover Weekly, that is a Spotify product and service. And you know what else you can find on Spotify? This show.
Both Coast Bias.
That's right. Interesting thing about the Walters. I looked them up because I, again, never know any of these bands that Aaron brings up, except for Bob Dylan, just to see what they look like, who they are. And here's a photo of the five of them.
What do you think of that picture of them all dressed in white?
It's pretty funny. And then there's a photo of them in front of a StubHub banner where a guy is wearing Crocs. So if nothing else, they enjoy comfort.
Well, how about this about the Walters? They were an unsigned 5-piece indie rock band who hailed from Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
It was composed of a guy named Luke Olson, Walter Cosner, Michael Terabassi, Danny Wells, and Charlie Eckhouse.
Mm-hmm.
And as of 2017, they've only released 2 full-length albums.
I'd say if it's right in the Wikipedia description, that's a pretty independent band.
No, they
Aaron,
were pretty well known in Chicago. They played at places like House of Blues, Riot Fest, and Lollapalooza. So it's
they
not
played at
like these
Lollapalooza?
guys.
That's
Yeah,
pretty
it's
well
not
known.
not like these guys are just like nobodies, you know.
I didn't say
But
they were
I will
nobodies.
say this. I will say this, Jonas. They went to a private university in Chicago. Do you know
Ooh,
which
can I guess
one?
which one? Does it say?
Yeah.
Did they go to UIC, Illinois, Chicago?
They did not go to the
Did they go to
Flames.
Loyola, home of the
They did
Ramblers?
not go to Loyola.
Okay.
But Sister Jean, I heard, is doing really well.
She's an attention hog. I said it. We went over this last time. Yeah, if she has any problem with that, come on the show. So I think
there's one more private school in the city of Chicago that you have not said that I think is very prominent.
DePaul?
Very large school. DePaul. The
Oh.
demon, the Blue
The
Demons.
Blue Demons.
Blue Demons. Blue Demons, not the Demon Deacons. The Blue Demons.
yes, Demon Deacons would be Wake Forest.
But yeah, that's where they went.
Very cool. Thanks for that, Aaron. Shall we get our sports on? Speaking of
Sports.
Demon Deacons,
Sports.
Aaron, in post production, if you will, or if you can play it now, a little NFL theme song, maybe NFL Films with a Fox song. The Fox thong. That's a whole different animal. But yeah, it's about that time. The season kicks off tomorrow night, and if you're not going to have the defending champions playing on the Thursday for the 100th season, you might as well have Packers versus Bears, the league's oldest rivalry, the two original franchises, I think, and it's a good time. So instead of just going here division by division saying that team's going to win, that team's not going to make the playoffs. Well, that is actually what I'm going to say for some of these. But we wanted to make some bold predictions, something that probably won't come true, but I just want to say something so shocking that it'll maybe get people thinking. So without further ado, this first one, I'm not really going out on much of a limb, but there is an amazing fact that I want to point out to you, Aaron. So this first shocking prediction I'm making is the Raiders won't win more than 4 games.
Wow.
Bear with me.
Okay.
I know a team that had the draft in the top 5 last year and has been perennially not a great team recently. That's not really a shocking prediction, if you will. And this doesn't even come from the fact that there's just been a lot of Antonio Brown drama around them, right? And the fact that I think the game has passed John Gruden by, and maybe he's a bit more of a TV character than he is a coach. You getting the drift here, Aaron? But there's a fact that I want to mention to you. If you take a look at their schedule, they play 2 home games to open up. Week 2 against the Chiefs. Will you be watching?
Of course I will.
Because you're a diehard as of last year.
I'm actually thinking about going to the Chiefs game this weekend. They're playing in Jacksonville.
Oh, yeah. Hey, are they playing?
They are playing. They are playing. That is going to happen. Thanks.
Good. I don't care about your safety.
Not be renamed. He did not care about my safety. But yeah,
So-
they're playing. It'll be fun. I've never been to Jacksonville for a game, so that could be exciting times.
Duval. Or you should sit in the pool at their stadium. Anyways. So they play the Chiefs week 2. Do you know when their next home game is in 2019?
No.
They won't play another home game in Oakland until week 8. They have 0 games in Oakland in the month of October.
Do they have a bye week?
No. So what they're doing is playing a number of road games, and then as with the Raiders being a team that is moving locations next season, they are one of the teams that has to host an international game. So they have a game in London against the Bears of all teams, at the new Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in London. So that is one of their home games. And because of that, they will not have a home game from week 2 until week 8. That is tough. I don't care if you're traveling charter. I don't care if you have first-class flights all over the place and staying in 5-star hotels. That is tough. And so not to be home at all and to have to go to London, which will be followed by a bye week. So you are correct. I think that's just going to rag on them. I think the drama within the locker room is going to drag on them. And it's just going to be a bad year for the Raiders. So that's my shocking revelation number 1. Raiders won't win more than 4 games.
It's also kind of a lame duck year for them, right? Like they're in the final year at Oakland, which they had to fight just to even get the lease for this year.
Play this one season,
exactly. Yeah, like the city of Oakland did not want them there this year.
Can you blame them?
Well, I'm actually very interested what their overall attendance numbers are going to be.
You know what the problem's going to be? It's going to be sold out because Raider fans are insane, for better or for worse.
I'm not sure if it will be though. I think
Think
I
about the
think
purgatory they've
peop-
been in for the last decade.
well,
Really.
that's true, but they've still been Oakland's team. They haven't been the Bay's team. They've been Oakland's team. It's like the Athletics are not San Francisco's team. The Athletics are from
They're
Oakland. They are rooted in Oakland. They are proud of their history in Oakland.
Way to take the A's official team hashtag there, rooted in Oakland.
See what I did there? See what I did there?
Yeah.
But I just I think Oakland people are very prideful of where they hail from, where they grew up, where they live, what they do, and the fact that the Raiders are leaving, I think is going to create a lot of animosity, and they're already angry fans. So I think we're going to have a lot of issues to begin with this year. But
I think you're not taking into account one thing, and
what
is the number of Los Angeles Raider fans that fly up every day as well.
That is true.
There are a lot. There's
that
that Southwest terminal on Raider home game Sundays is a scene, and especially those flights from LAX to Oakland. That is a place maybe to avoid on Sundays.
Jonas,
so just keep that in mind.
While we're on this subject, I want to give a shout out, at least while we're on the subject of Oakland and kind of dreams coming true. Did you see what the Athletics did the other night?
Refresh my memory.
So their longtime broadcaster had a day off. So instead, instead of bringing in a national broadcaster, instead of just sliding someone over on their current crew, they did something very cool, and they promoted one of their minor league broadcasters who's been in Advanced A for over 15 years. He's 35 years old, and he got his first call to the big leagues. And his name was his name is Zach Beirudi. And I wanted
he made it to the bigs and had to change his name to something sexier.
So what I wanted to do is, I love stories like this because I think a lot of teams don't take this kind of opportunities, and there's a lot of broadcasters that grind it out in the minor leagues of anything, whether it's the G League, whether it's college athletics, whether it's minor league baseball. And this guy has spent 15 years working in professional baseball, and that's 15 years alone just at the Advanced A level. Their old AAA affiliate in Sacramento, that guy has been there since 2003.
The Flying Squirrels, right?
He has worked for the River Cats since 2003, and the only chance that he's ever gotten to call Major League Baseball games was when the Athletics had him on a road trip. And so the fact that they have a history of doing this, and the fact that they recognize all the work that these people do, I think is tremendous. And it's not talked about enough. It's not mentioned enough. And for someone like that who'd worked in minor league baseball for so long and is probably called well over 3,000 minor league games to
got a
get
lot of
that
travel stories like you,
in
probably.
one night in the Athletic. Yeah, but not only that, just to get one night in the big leagues in front of a big league microphone, big league crowd, big league feel. That's something that is memorable for not only him but also his family, and it's a touching story. And I just love what the Athletics did with it.
Here to the A's. I love the A's. I really do love the A's. As much as I don't like NorCal and Bay Area stuff, the A's, there's something about the Oakland A's. They're fun. Okay.
And he got to call a home run. How cool was that?
Was it from Matt Chapman from El Toro High School?
I can't remember who it was, but I heard the call because I don't know if you know this, but the Athletics before the year started had trouble getting a terrestrial radio deal done. So they had started a streaming channel on YouTube, or not YouTube, but TuneIn, that was 24 hours, and they were going to have their own original content, and it's called A's Cast.
Oh, hire us, A's. We love you.
Yeah,
we love the A's.
So just. They put it out on there, and he got to call a home run, and it was just a lot of fun. I enjoyed it.
Well, that's awesome. Here's to Oakland, and screw the Raiders. You're not going to win more than 4 games, according to me. All right, shocking prediction number 2. This one was tough, Aaron. And as I was looking through the divisions and looking at the teams and storylines, I got to say the NFC North is going to be tough. You had the surprise team of the year last year in the Bears. You had the old hat with the Packers and Aaron Rodgers, perhaps the greatest QB we've ever seen, but with a new head coach that maybe he doesn't respect. And then you've got a team chock full of talent in Minnesota. So my shocking prediction number 2, sure to go wrong, is that the Vikings will win the North this year. Yes, I know. This was a team that lost in heartbreaking fashion 2 years ago. That they won when they beat the Saints and then got destroyed in the NFC title game by the Eagles. And they thought, we bring in Kirk Cousins, who should be a warm body at quarterback, and isn't Case Keenum, and we should go all the way. Didn't work out last year. Didn't make the playoffs. Got destroyed by the Bills even at home in a game. But the roster still looks good. And I think the key to this is that I believe a full season, hopefully, of running back Dalvin Cook will be the difference. Take some pressure off of Kirk Cousins. The kid is electric. I think he has rocket boosters in his butt, because when he gets going, you can't catch that kid. Dalvin Cook, just speaking to his injury past, he's been in the league now 2 years. He's been in the league, technically, but he has missed 17 of the 32 games he potentially could have played in. So a full season or even like 14 games of Dalvin Cook, take some pressure off of Kirk Cousins. That's a good roster. Maybe the Bears take a step back this year. Maybe things aren't clicking well in Green Bay. I believe the Vikings will win the North.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I've got a Wisconsinite sitting across the table from me, just shaking her head in disappointment.
How upset is she? How upset is she?
Well, she's wearing
Pretty
a
angry.
green shirt, and the look of disappointment is akin to anything I've ever done wrong in anything.
She's also probably just loves Aaron Rodgers. Huge Aaron
yeah,
Rodgers
who doesn't?
fan.
I mean, it's hard not to
Well,
like Aaron
I
Rodgers.
mean-
Not a
well,
great
I mean,
guy,
if-
but great
yeah, I was
quarterback.
gonna say if he was a better person, it'd be much easier to like him.
Hey,
So-
why can't we all just get along with our family, Aaron?
Exactly. Let's all just be nice to each other.
I
Tell
meant
that
Rodgers.
roommate
You
of
get along
yours-
with your family well.
Exactly. Just tell that roommate of yours the Packers are trash.
Aaron said the Packers are trash. Oh, that didn't go well either. So, yeah, that's my shocking prediction, number 2. My last one, I went a couple ways on this one. Shocking predictions for the NFL season that I'm sure to get wrong. I wanted to do something about the Browns, but it's kind of easy to say the Browns won't perform up to expectations, right? It is the Browns, after all.
That is
So, that's true. In this offseason of discontent, I do not believe the Cowboys will make the playoffs.
even with Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah, the shocked look on your face is what I'm hoping is going around on our listeners right now. Yeah, so it starts, of course, within the division, right? The Eagles are loaded. They should win that division and are probably the NFC favorites. Then you get into a deep and talented NFC. I just mentioned the Bears and the Packers. You've got the Rams in the West, and you've got an NFC South with between the Falcons, Saints, and Panthers could go any way, and all three of those teams could potentially steal wildcard spots or win the division. But apart from all that, I just think, and I heard a good point on the radio yesterday from a nationally prominent host who doesn't need the credit because he's doing well enough. But the headlines about the Cowboys this offseason, there's been too much talk about money, Aaron, and not enough talk about what's going to be happening on the field. Truly, when you look at the roster, this is a good team, but a little bit injury-prone defensively. Their best linebacker that they just signed to an extension fell to them in the first place, Jalen Smith out of Notre Dame, because his knee got shredded in a bowl game. And so between him and Sean Lee, and you never know in the game of football, right? So I think Dak is still a middle-of-the-road quarterback. I still think Ezekiel Elliott, there's no way a guy can be training all offseason in Cabo and come in and be effective. I just think with any team that gets off-season headlines rarely gets the in-season headlines. And so my shocking prediction sure to go wrong. And mark these down, laugh at me later if you will. I just think the Cowboys won't even make the playoffs. So.
Wow. All right. We're going to mark these down. We're going to follow them throughout the course of the year.
Saying the
and we're gonna
Raiders
see
won't
where
win
you
4
at.
games isn't that out there. I just really wanted to bring up the fact that they won't have a home game from week 2 to 8. That's just crazy that they do that to an NFL team.
Well, that is wild that they allowed that to happen, but also I could care less about the Raiders if they struggle this year. You know,
Screw them.
the fact that the fact that the city of Oakland could not get something done for them, but also just the fact that they're running away to Las Vegas. I feel no sympathy for them.
I don't begrudge the city of Oakland at all.
Yeah, I think it's awful when teams move. Just because a new city has a new stadium, you work it out, you get it done. You chose to be in that market for a reason. You have culture in that market. You have history in that market. And that's where I guess really they probably belong in LA because they were the second LA team, right? The Rams were the first.
The the Chargers may have even been the first team, but they moved after one season.
Yeah, but nobody cares about the Chargers, right?
No.
Like in the grand scheme of LA sports, like the Chargers are probably now behind the Clippers.
Yeah. As of right now, once that calendar hits October, I'm really interested to see what happens with the NFL, because football is king in 99% of the country, except for this market right here, because this is a Lakers and Dodgers town, and you can't deny that the Clippers are going to be wildly interesting this year. And the dynamic between the two teams at Staples Center is one of the headlines of the sports world, at least the American sports world. So we'll see. Stay tuned. I'll let you know what's going on.
Ooh, interesting.
I'll put my ear to the ground.
This.
So yeah, those are my
some
predictions.
Investigative reporting. What are your predictions for the Kansas City Chiefs?
They'll win the West. I mean, the Chargers will challenge them, but a team like the Chargers to lose perhaps the best safety in the NFL, Derwin James, to a foot fracture for, if not all the year, most of it, is devastating. Melvin Gordon doesn't look like he'll play anytime soon. And their left tackle, Russell Okung, is already banged up, I think, heading into week 1. Those are 3 amazingly important positions that the Chargers are going to be without some great players at. Rivers isn't getting any younger, but still a very wildly talented team that will challenge the Chiefs, probably grab a wild card spot, but they won't win the West. So Chiefs probably will go something like 13-3 or so, and maybe grab home field advantage. Who knows what happens in New England? The regular season doesn't really matter to them. And for the Chiefs, it all comes down to the defense, right? Because they're going to put up their points again.
Absolutely. And, I'm excited to see what Steve Spagnuolo does. I don't think the first 4 weeks we're really going to get an idea for what that defense can do, but week 8, 9, 10, we'll start seeing kind of if they come together, if they gel. The offense is going to think that they can put up points every single trip down. So it's going to be fun. We'll get a first glimpse of it this week.
You got a prediction for the Rams,
I'm
Aaron?
Excited.
Speaking of teams that left.
I love the fact that they extended Jared Goff. What was it, 140 some odd million, so they control him for the next 6 years because
I liked the move also.
Yeah, I thought because a lot of people were worried that maybe they would let his rookie contract kind of expire and let him hit free agency, and then they would just reset the whole thing once again.
Mm-hmm.
But he's a good quarterback. He took him to a Super Bowl. You would have liked to have seen more in the Super Bowl, but he's still young. I liked what they did. I do think they're going to make the playoffs. I don't know if they'll win the division again, but it's going to be interesting.
Ooh, who do you think would win the division instead?
I'm not going to tell you.
Well, it's either Seattle or San Francisco because Arizona sucks.
Yeah, well, I'm going with Seattle.
Look, after getting Clowney, their front seven is loaded.
Yeah.
I guess the quick hot take on the Jared Goff deal: is he the best QB in the league? No, but Sean McVay took the job because he wanted to be married with Jared Goff throughout their time together. And I'd say, considering the rate that quarterback contracts are going right now, I think getting out ahead of it, and when you look down the road in a few years, I think the deal is going to look pretty good, especially when Dak Prescott signs a deal and when Patrick Mahomes signs his extension pretty soon here. I think Jared Goff might almost be a bargain at that point. But we'll see, right? He's got to stay healthy as well.
Well, because there's going to be a new CBA, and then Patrick's going to be eligible for an extension in a few months. And the word on the street is that's going to be around $200 million.
About $40 a year, which will be unreal. All right. Real quickly here, my story is a little dark and down, and we don't have to get to it really until the next day or until Friday. But Aaron, you gave me a little bit of a preview of your Florida man story here for Both Coast Bias current events. Let her rip.
So the last few days, we have done nothing but talk about Hurricane Dorian, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so naturally, that spurred a wonderful Florida man conversation from Hurricane Dorian. And for people who don't know or don't watch the news or hadn't really listened to our podcast, Hurricane Dorian had been barreling towards Florida. And the other day when it hit the Bahamian Islands, it was categorized as a Cat 5. So when this story came out, a Florida man suggested that he wants the U.S. military to fight Hurricane Dorian with shards of ice, like frozen water, ice. He wants them to catapult ice at it. And he goes, quote, in this story, "All this warm weather and warm water, we have Navy," he says, looking directly at the camera. "Why don't the Navy come and drop ice in the warm water so it can't get going as fast as it's going?" And he said all this while wearing a Hawaiian shirt.
Thank you for
Hold on,
providing that visual.
He continues to go. There's got to be ways to combat this other than just pointing at the thing and going, well, now it's getting worse, he said, laughing. Quote, well, we know it's getting worse, but you tell us. Oh, it's the warm weather. Oh, it's the wind. Drive some Air Force planes around to get the winds going the other way. The Navy go in circles to fight it the other way. So this man wants Navy planes and the Air Force to, well, he wants Navy ships to throw ice at it, and then he wants Navy planes to go in the opposite direction that the storm is brewing.
Right. Get it twisting the other way.
Change the direction of the winds, and then he thinks the ice will cool it down.
I'm so flabbergasted right now. Just real quickly, two things.
This man.
I have so much running through my brain right now. So when you initially told me the headline before we got on air here, I thought you meant the guy wanted them to fight it with ICE, the government organization that has been in the headlines recently, working with, or whatever term you want to use, immigrants here in the U.S. Glad that's not the case, because they probably wouldn't do anything against a hurricane. So he's not a total idiot. I am. By his reasoning, he said the water is warm, right? That's his quote. By throwing ice at it, won't the ice just melt?
Yes.
Okay.
It very much would.
So it won't work. I just want to make sure that's clear that it won't work. All right. I just wanted to get that off my chest. But Aaron, that is a classic. That might have to go in the Florida Man Hall of Fame.
I was going to say that might be one of our better ones.
Along with the iguanas that really let loose in some guy's jacuzzi.
Tell you what, we just get great stories here in Florida.
Yeah, you guys are out of control. But Aaron, appreciate your time. Get your rain jackets going. Make sure your outdoor furniture is set. Is the worst by? Like, what's the deal?
Everything has pretty much passed. It was in Daytona this morning. So right now we're kind of just getting some light rain, some heavy winds, but nothing too bad. I put all my furniture back outside, so we are safe. We are no longer hunkering. We are out of DEFCON 1.
So we're retiring hunkering. Got it.
Yes.
Aaron, appreciate your time. And we will get to you Friday. Maybe we'll review tomorrow night's game a little bit and preview the weekend ahead. But Aaron, and hopefully we'll have our best friend of the show, Drew, back, perhaps for the college weekend.
Tailgate Tourist returns.
Have a good one.